In a galaxy filled with chaos, the Galactic Empire ruled with an iron fist. They had conquered countless planets, enslaving millions. The citizens of the outer worlds lived in fear, hoping for a hero to rise against their oppressors. Little did they know that help was on the way. Deep within the darkness of space, a small but powerful human vessel, the Endeavor, soared through the stars. Captain Ethan Reyes, a brave and skilled leader, stood at the helm. The ship was unique, combining old Earth technology with advanced alien upgrades. It was a symbol of hope for humanity, representing everything they had fought for. As the Endeavor approached the edge of the Empire's territory, Reyes glanced at the view screen. The vastness of space stretched before him, filled with distant stars and swirling nebulae. He felt a surge of determination. "This is it," he said to himself. "We're going to change everything." His crew, a mix of humans and other alien races, prepared for their mission. They had trained hard, knowing they were up against one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Reyes addressed them with a fiery speech. "We are the lone light in this dark universe. Today we show the Empire that we will not bow down." With hearts full of courage, they set a course for a nearby planet, one that the Empire had targeted for its resources. As they entered the atmosphere, Reyes could see the towering structures of an Imperial mining facility. Ships buzzed around it, patrolling for any sign of trouble. The Empire was confident, unaware that a single human vessel was ready to challenge their might. The Endeavor glided silently, cloaked in advanced stealth technology. Reyes instructed his crew to prepare for a tactical strike. "We'll take out their defenses first," he said. "Then we'll show them the strength of a lone human ship." They moved into position, hiding behind a nearby moon. Reyes watched the Imperial ships from the view screen, their sleek designs and intimidating presence sending chills down his spine. But he also felt excitement. This was their chance to fight back. With a single command, the crew launched their first missile. It soared through the void, striking an Imperial gunship. The explosion lit up the dark sky, a brilliant flash of defiance. The Empire's ships scrambled, trying to locate the source of the attack. Reyes smiled. "They're panicking," he said. "Let's keep the pressure on." The crew launched another missile, and then another. The Endeavor danced through the enemy ships, a blur of motion. Reyes skillfully commanded his crew, each member knowing their role. They had practiced this for weeks, and now it was all coming together. Suddenly, an alarm blared.
"Incoming fire!"
a crew member shouted. Reyes gripped the controls tightly. "Evasive maneuvers! Get us out of here!" The ship swerved and dipped, narrowly avoiding a barrage of laser fire. The adrenaline surged through the crew as they worked in perfect harmony, dodging and counterattacking. One of the Imperial ships managed to get a lock on them. It fired a shot, hitting the Endeavor's shields. The ship shook violently, but the shields held. Reyes knew they couldn't take much more damage. "Focus fire on that ship," he ordered. "We need to take it out." The crew responded with fierce determination. They concentrated their firepower on the Imperial ship, and with one final strike, it exploded into pieces. Cheers erupted in the cockpit. They had done it! They had fought against the Empire and won. But Reyes knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would not take this loss lightly. "Prepare for a counterattack," he said, his voice steady. "We've sent a message today, and we need to be ready for what comes next." As the Endeavor drifted away from the scene of destruction, Reyes felt a sense of pride swell within him. They had shown that even a lone vessel could stand against the might of the Galactic Empire. Hope had been ignited, and the galaxy would never be the same again. With a fierce resolve, he plotted a course deeper into enemy territory. The battle was far from over, and Captain Ethan Reyes was ready to lead his crew into the unknown. Together they would fight for freedom, inspiring others to rise against their oppressors. The galaxy had a new hero, and his name was Captain Reyes. The Endeavor glided silently through the void of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant starlight. Captain Ethan Reyes stood on the bridge, his heart pounding with anticipation. They had just received reports about the movements of the Galactic Empire's elite fleet, and Reyes knew that this would be their first real test. With a crew of brave men and women by his side, he felt a mix of fear and excitement. "Captain, we've picked up a signal, Lisa," the communications officer said, her eyes wide with focus. "It looks like an Empire patrol ship." "They're on an intercept course." Reyes felt a rush of adrenaline. "Prepare for battle stations," he commanded, the weight of leadership pressing heavily on his shoulders. He had trained for moments like this, but now it was real. The Empire was known for its ruthless efficiency, and he knew they had to be ready. The crew sprang into action, moving swiftly to their assigned positions. Reyes could hear the hum of the ship's systems as they powered up for combat. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the nerves that churned in his stomach. "Distance to the enemy ship?" Reyes asked, gripping the control panel tightly. "About 5,000 kilometers and closing fast," Lisa reported, her fingers dancing across the screens. "They'll be in firing range in less than a minute." Reyes's mind raced. They needed a plan. "Let's see what they're made of. Prepare to engage, but hold fire until I give the command." The tension in the air was palpable as the seconds ticked by. The patrol ship was a small but formidable vessel, designed for quick strikes and reconnaissance. Reyes could see it approaching on the view screen, its dark hull looming ominously. "Target their weapon systems," Reyes instructed, his voice steady. "If we can disable them, we might gain the upper hand." As the enemy ship drew closer, Reyes felt the weight of his crew's trust. They were counting on him, and he couldn't afford to let them down. "Now!" he shouted, and the Endeavor unleashed a barrage of fire. Bright beams of energy shot toward the approaching patrol ship, illuminating the dark void of space. The first shots struck true, and Reyes watched as explosions rippled across the enemy's hull. "Direct hits," Lisa exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. "They're losing power!" But the Empire was quick to respond. The patrol ship returned fire with fierce intensity. Blasts of energy erupted from its cannons, striking the Endeavor with powerful force. The ship shook violently, and alarms blared throughout the bridge. "Shields at 70%, Lisa shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We need to stabilize or we'll take serious damage. Divert power to the shields," Reyes commanded, gripping the controls to steady himself. The crew scrambled to follow his orders, working quickly to reinforce their defenses. Despite the damage, Reyes felt a surge of determination. "We're not backing down. Focus fire on their engines," he yelled, his voice fierce with resolve. The crew responded with renewed energy. They fired relentlessly at the enemy ship, their shots striking true once more. The patrol ship staggered, its engines flickering as smoke billowed from its damaged hull. Reyes could see the panic in the eyes of the enemy crew as they scrambled to regain control. "Let's finish this," Reyes shouted, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "All power to the front cannons." The crew followed his orders, and the Endeavor unleashed another wave of fire. This time their shots found their mark. The patrol ship erupted in a brilliant explosion, scattering debris across the void. Reyes felt a wave of triumph wash over him, mixed with disbelief. "We did it!" Lisa cheered, her face lighting up with excitement. But Reyes remained focused. "Stay alert," he cautioned. "This was just a patrol ship. The Empire will send more forces. We need to prepare." As the remnants of the patrol ship drifted away, Reyes took a moment to collect his thoughts. They had just faced their first enemy encounter, and they had won. But the fight was far from over. The Galactic Empire would not let this defeat go unanswered. "Captain," Lisa interrupted his thoughts, her voice serious, "we've received a distress signal from a nearby planet. They're under attack by the Empire." Reyes's heart raced. This was their chance to make a difference. "Set a course for the planet," he commanded, his resolve strengthening. "We'll help them. We can't let the Empire continue its reign of terror." As the Endeavor changed course, Reyes felt a sense of purpose ignite within him. They were no longer just a lone ship. They were a symbol of hope. Together, they would fight back against the Empire, one battle at a time. With the stars twinkling around them, Reyes knew that this was only the beginning. The Endeavor was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, and he would lead his crew into the heart of the fight for freedom. The Endeavor drifted through the dark void of space, its crew feeling the tension in the air. Captain Ethan Reyes stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the star-filled view screen. They had won their last battle against the Galactic Empire, but a storm was brewing. The Empire's elite fleet was on its way, and they were furious. "Captain, we've intercepted communications from the Empire," Lisa, the communications officer, said, her voice shaking slightly. "They are mobilizing their elite fleet. They want revenge for the losses we caused." Reyes felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He knew the elite fleet was equipped with the most advanced technology and the best pilots. "How long do we have?" he asked, his voice steady despite the fear swirling in his chest. "Less than 24 hours, Lisa replied, her face pale. Reyes turned to his crew. "We need to prepare. We must be ready for them when they arrive." The crew sprang into action, gathering information about the Empire's elite ships. Reyes led a meeting in the war room where maps and holograms of the enemy fleet floated above the table. "This is our chance to prove that we can stand up to them," he said, trying to ignite a fire in their hearts. "We can't let fear control us." The crew nodded, their determination evident. They had trained hard for this moment, and now it was time to show the Empire what they were made of. Reyes outlined their plan, detailing how they would use the ship's stealth technology to ambush the incoming fleet. As the hours passed, tension hung thick in the air. Reyes could feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He glanced at the crew, each member focused on their tasks. They were ready to fight, but he knew they faced a formidable enemy. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Voss watched as his fleet prepared for battle. Known for his ruthless tactics, he was determined to crush the human vessel that had embarrassed him. "We will make them pay for their insolence," he growled, his voice filled with anger. "Launch the fleet! Show them the power of the Empire!" The elite fleet, a formation of sleek ships, moved through space like a deadly swarm. Reyes watched them approach on the view screen, his heart racing. "They're here!" he shouted, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "Prepare for battle! Shields at maximum," Lisa called out as the crew braced for impact. The Endeavor shuddered as the first wave of enemy fire struck their shields. "Return fire!" Reyes commanded, gripping the controls tightly. Missiles shot from the Endeavor, streaking through the darkness. The crew worked together flawlessly, focusing their fire on the lead ships of the elite fleet. Explosions lit up the void and cheers erupted from the crew. They were fighting back, but the Empire retaliated quickly. Laser fire filled the space around them, and the Endeavor rocked under the onslaught. "Shields at 50%! Sarah, the tactical officer, shouted, her eyes wide with fear. Reyes felt a surge of determination. "We can't let them break us! Keep pushing forward!" The crew fought fiercely, launching another wave of missiles. The enemy fleet began to falter, but Admiral Voss was not finished. He ordered his flagship to engage the Endeavor directly. "We will destroy that ship once and for all," he yelled, his voice booming. The flagship surged forward, targeting the Endeavor with a barrage of fire. Reyes could see the massive ship approaching, its guns glowing ominously. "Everyone, hold on!" he shouted as he ordered evasive maneuvers. The ship swerved and dipped, narrowly avoiding the enemy fire. "Focus fire on their flagship," Reyes commanded. The crew unleashed everything they had, their hearts pounding with adrenaline. The flagship returned fire, and the Endeavor shook violently as hits struck the hull. "Shields failing!" Lisa cried, panic creeping into her voice. Reyes knew they had to act fast. "We need to hit them hard and fast! Target their weak points!" With a fierce resolve, the crew concentrated their fire on the flagship's engines. Reyes guided the ship closer, weaving through enemy fire like a dancer. With one final strike, their weapons found their mark, and the flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but Reyes remained focused. "Don't celebrate yet. They'll regroup and come after us!" He knew the battle was far from over. As the remnants of the elite fleet began to retreat, Reyes felt a sense of pride swell within him. They had fought bravely against overwhelming odds. The galaxy was watching, and the Endeavor had become a symbol of hope. But Reyes knew this victory was just the beginning. The Empire would return, angrier and more determined. With a fierce determination, he plotted their next course deeper into enemy territory. They had shown the Empire that even a lone human vessel could stand up against their might, and the fight for freedom was far from over. The Endeavor floated silently in the depths of space, its crew exhausted but filled with newfound hope. Captain Ethan Reyes stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars. They had just defeated the elite fleet of the Galactic Empire, but Reyes knew that this victory was only the beginning. They needed to rally more allies if they wanted to stand a chance against the Empire. "Captain Lisa," the communications officer said, breaking his thoughts. "We received a transmission from the resistance leaders. They want to meet." Reyes nodded. "Set up a meeting. We need to unite our forces and plan our next move." As Lisa worked to establish the connection, Reyes felt a surge of excitement mixed with anxiety. They had fought hard, but the Empire was still out there, and they had more work to do. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a group of resistance leaders from different planets. Each leader had their own unique appearance, some with bright skin colors, others with strange features. All of them shared one goal: to free the galaxy from the Empire's tyranny. "Captain Reyes," said a tall, green-skinned alien named Zarnak, "your victory against the elite fleet is inspiring. We believe it's time to rally our forces for a greater fight." Reyes felt a spark of hope. "I agree, Zarnak. We need to show the Empire that we are united. They won't stop until they crush us. If we want to succeed, we must work together." One of the other leaders, a small, furry creature named Yari, spoke up. "We have many fighters who are willing to join your cause, but we need a plan. What do you suggest?" Reyes took a deep breath, his mind racing with ideas. "We need to strike at their supply lines. The Empire relies on constant resources to maintain their power. If we can disrupt their supplies, we can weaken them significantly." The leaders nodded in agreement, and Reyes could see determination in their eyes. They were ready to fight. "I can lead a small fleet to hit a supply depot on the outskirts of Empire-controlled space," he continued. "With your ships, we can launch a surprise attack and take them by surprise." Zarnak leaned forward, his eyes bright. "We can gather our best pilots and coordinate our attacks. If we strike swiftly, we may even cause chaos in their ranks." "Let's do it!" Yari exclaimed, pumping his tiny fist in the air. "For freedom!" The meeting buzzed with excitement as the leaders discussed their plan. Reyes felt a sense of camaraderie grow among them. They were no longer just a group of rebels. They were a united force ready to challenge the Empire. After the meeting, Reyes and his crew prepared for the mission. They worked late into the night, repairing the ship and making sure everything was in order. The excitement in the air was palpable, and Reyes felt his heart race. This was their chance to make a real impact. As dawn broke, the crew of the Endeavor stood ready. They had gathered a small fleet of resistance ships, each one filled with brave pilots ready to fight. Reyes stood before them, feeling the weight of leadership on his shoulders. "Today, we show the Empire that we will not back down," he shouted. "We are here to take back our freedom." The pilots cheered, their voices echoing through the hangar. Reyes could see the determination in their eyes, and it filled him with pride. They were no longer alone. They were part of something much bigger. As the fleet launched into space, Reyes took a moment to look at the stars. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for hope and freedom. They were rallying the resistance, and the Empire would feel their wrath. The ships moved in formation, their engines glowing brightly as they approached the supply depot. Reyes glanced at the tactical display, noting the location of enemy forces. "Stay alert. We need to hit them fast and hard," he instructed. As they neared the depot, the tension grew. The Empire had built a massive facility, guarded by patrol ships. Reyes knew they had to be smart. "We'll split into two groups. One will create a diversion while the other strikes the depot," he ordered. The crew nodded, ready for action. They had trained for moments like this, and now it was time to put their skills to the test. "On my mark, we attack!" With a deep breath, Reyes counted down. 3, 2, 1, go! The ships surged forward, unleashing a hail of fire on the patrol ships. Explosions erupted as the enemy scrambled to respond. The resistance fighters moved with precision, working together seamlessly. "Let's take them down!" Reyes shouted as they engaged the enemy. The battle raged, with blasters firing and ships colliding. Reyes could feel the adrenaline coursing through him, urging him forward. As the fight continued, the Endeavor and the resistance fleet pressed toward the supply depot. They were fighting not just for their lives, but for the future of the galaxy. Reyes knew this was a turning point. They were rallying the resistance, and together they would strike back against the Empire. The fleet gathered in formation around the Endeavor, ready for the final confrontation with the Galactic Empire. Captain Ethan Reyes stood on the bridge, a mix of determination and anxiety flooding his mind. This battle would decide the fate of the galaxy, and he knew they had to fight with everything they had. "Captain, we have the Empire's forces on our sensors," Lisa, the communications officer, said, her voice steady. The view screen showed a massive armada of enemy ships moving toward them, darkening the stars behind them. Reyes felt his heart race. The Empire was bringing everything they had to crush the resistance once and for all. "Prepare for battle!" Reyes commanded, gripping the controls tightly. "We must hold our ground and protect our allies. This is our chance to show them that we will not be silenced." The crew responded with renewed energy, rushing to their stations. Reyes felt the weight of their hopes resting on his shoulders. He glanced at his crew, their faces set with determination. They had come so far together, and now it was time to fight for their freedom. As the enemy ships drew closer, Reyes could see the fearsome design of the Imperial vessels. Each ship was a testament to their power, equipped with heavy weaponry and advanced shields. But he also saw the resolve in his crew's eyes. They were ready to face whatever came next. "Let's initiate the plan," Reyes said, his voice strong. "Remember, we are fighting for our future and the lives of those who cannot fight for themselves." The Resistance fleet surged forward, opening fire on the Empire's ships. Blaster bolts lit up the darkness of space, creating a beautiful yet deadly display. Reyes steered the Endeavor into the fray, dodging enemy fire as they closed in on the nearest Imperial cruiser. "Target their engines!" Reyes shouted, and the crew focused their fire on the powerful ship. Explosions erupted as their shots found their mark, sending debris spinning into space. The battle raged on, and Reyes could feel the adrenaline pumping through him. His crew fought valiantly, coordinating attacks with the other Resistance ships. They were a well-oiled machine, each member playing their part flawlessly. But the Empire fought back fiercely. Reyes watched as enemy ships retaliated, blasting through the ranks of the Resistance. The Endeavor shook violently as a barrage of fire struck its shields. "Status report!" Reyes barked, his heart racing. "Shields are holding, but weakening," Lisa replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "We need to find a way to take out their flagship." Reyes nodded, formulating a plan in his mind. The flagship was the heart of the Empire's fleet, and if they could bring it down, the rest would falter. "Let's regroup with our allies and strike it together," he ordered. The crew worked quickly to coordinate their next move. Reyes watched as their allied ships maneuvered around them, joining forces for a concentrated attack. They were a united front against the Empire, and that unity gave him strength. As the Endeavor and its allies moved toward the flagship, Reyes could see the colossal ship looming ahead. It was heavily armed and fortified, but he could also see signs of damage from previous battles. "Now is our chance!" he shouted, determination flooding his voice. "We will hit them hard!" With renewed vigor, the fleet surged forward. Reyes focused on the flagship's weak points, guiding the Endeavor through a barrage of enemy fire. They were close now, and he could see the fear in the eyes of the enemy crew. They were beginning to realize that the tide was turning. "Fire at will!" Reyes commanded, unleashing a torrent of fire upon the flagship. Explosions erupted as their shots connected, and the massive ship shuddered under the assault. The crew of the Endeavor cheered, their spirits lifted by the sight of the Empire's flagship taking damage. But the Empire was not done yet. The flagship returned fire with devastating force, and Reyes felt the ship tremble as their shields began to fail. "Brace for impact!" he shouted, gripping the controls tightly. The Endeavor rocked violently as enemy blasts struck the hull. Reyes could see sparks flying, and alarms blared throughout the ship. "Damage report!" he demanded, trying to remain calm. "Main power systems are failing." Lisa shouted back, her eyes wide with fear. "We need to pull back." "No! We can't retreat now," Reyes said, feeling a surge of determination. "We must push through, for everyone who has suffered under the Empire." With fierce resolve, he guided the ship closer to the flagship, dodging enemy fire with skill. The Resistance fleet followed suit, rallying behind him as they launched another wave of fire. The flagship was faltering. Reyes could see the panic among the enemy crew as they scrambled to respond to the relentless assault. "Keep firing!" Reyes shouted, his heart racing. "We can't let up now!" With one final powerful strike, their combined fire struck the flagship's core. A blinding explosion erupted, lighting up the darkness of space. The Endeavor shook with the force of the blast, and Reyes felt a moment of disbelief wash over him. The flagship was gone. Cheers erupted across the bridge as the crew celebrated their victory. But Reyes remained focused. The battle was not over yet. The remaining Imperial ships began to retreat, their formation breaking apart in chaos. "Pursue them!" Reyes commanded, his voice steady. "We must show them that we will not back down." As the fleet surged forward, Reyes felt a wave of triumph wash over him. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious. They had rallied the Resistance, and together, they had struck a decisive blow against the Empire. In that moment, Reyes knew they had changed the course of history. The galaxy would remember this day, the day when a lone human vessel inspired a rebellion that shook the foundations of the Galactic Empire. And as they pressed on, he knew they were just getting started.